I am Captain Logan, and this is day 227 of Spawn Year. I am trapped in another infernal tug-of-war, designed to lessen my resolve, keep me off balance, question my own sanity, and, here's a fun new twist, make me wonder if I actually like it here. One side wants me to embrace my predicament as fate, keeping me totally shackled to this looping alleyway but inviting me to feel mighty with these new powers. Tiny Adam West has never contradicted my original interpretation of this new iteration of my Spawn comic-laden prison. He still wants me to think I am doomed to read Spawn and to be Spawn for all eternity. The other side, in the form of Captain Cogliostro, tells me I can leave anytime I want. He's trying to make me see this place as my own hallucinogenic fantasy. Both sides are attempting to control me with guilt and power. I must remain sharp and disciplined. It isn't enough to finish all 365 critiques. I must do so with my sanity intact. I can't take anything at face value. There must be more to this surreal reality than either side claims. It isn't simply hell if that note really came from Dan, and I still believe it did, but it also can't simply be my own fantasy world if there is any truth to the prototype clones Doomsvents revealed in the form of reanimated zombies, which I never knew about. The two clues I have to possible outside real-world influence, the only elements that stick out to me as true to life, are related to Dan Torrey. That cannot be coincidence. But even though I believe I know what to do, deception, lies, and mind games stand in my way. I would like to know the extent of my powers, but I must use them sparingly and wisely. Unlike Spawn, I'm certain there is a concrete limit to my energy. If simply existing and writing burns a count of Mountain Dew in a week, imagine what teleporting or shapeshifting or big poofs of smoke might do. But the Spawn of these comics is no longer concerned with such things. He thinks he's evolved to the point where he can solve all the world's problems with a thought. And all he needs to do first is ask the world's permission. That's actually an uncharacteristically smart bit of continuity, and illustrates that Spawn is perhaps using his head a little more than I thought he could. The Earth itself is a major cosmic entity with a stake in what happens with the Celestial battle, and therefore in what happens to Spawn, since he's the prophesized MVP in the conflict. He's had an uneasy alliance with the Green World in the past, but he's been on its good side recently with the Urizen incident, so he might be able to get the Green World to go along with his utopia, which would give his plan more than a marginal chance of working. And if he didn't do that, I imagine the Green World would just turn him into tree bark and light him on fire. Curiously, the Earth is the only entity that still feels more powerful than Spawn, over heaven and hell even. But most of this issue is a brawl between Spawn and the new Redeemer, with Eddie's consciousness inside. It is a thrilling, beautifully drawn fight. I'm enjoying Medina's art the longer he's on the book. I think it helps create some excitement that Spawn's fighting something that might actually stand a chance against him. I'm sure Spawn will win, but at least I know you probably can't beat something fueled by celestial fire by popping it out of existence. Eddie has been manipulated by an angel or some other heavenly agent. We never see who it was planting ideas in his head at juvenile detention to blame Spawn for his killing his father and to be in total denial about the kind of man his dad really was. This serves as yet another example of how underhanded and manipulative Heaven is. He's told that to receive absolution for the sin of murder, he must seek revenge on Spawn, which is about as contrary to biblical ideas as Heaven can get. There's nothing really inconsistent about this from our previous encounters with Eddie and Andy, but it's not altogether interesting or doing anything to further Eddie's character. He's essentially brainwashed, and it's hard to tell how much of his hatred for Spawn is genuine or enhanced by Heaven's influence. If Eddie wanted Spawn dead on his second appearance, and became Redeemer clearly and totally of his own accord, and especially if he was only the second Redeemer, I would have found that a creative and fascinating development. because there was such a deep-seated personal component to Wynn's Redeemer when he was anti-Spawn. I do like that the first thing Spawn thinks when he sees Redeemer is that it's Jason Wynn again. As always, the real letdown is how not thought through Redeemer was from the outset, so everything here feels tacked on way too late in the game. The second Redeemer had no personal grudge against Spawn. Why this long, convoluted plan to recruit Eddie? Couldn't Heaven had used a Redeemer back before Spawn became cosmically aware or whatever? And if they wanted to go back to the old idea of using someone who personally had a vendetta against Spawn, there's plenty of other people you wouldn't have to talk into it. Anybody else want to see the Redeemer monkey? Because I sure do. Heck, I still can't figure out why Heaven gave up on using Wynn in the first place. It's also strange that Eddie is an astral projecting Redeemer. His soul is out of his body in Redeemer, but his body is on life support in the hospital. That's totally different from how the other two were recruited, and no explanation at all as to why the method is suddenly so dramatically different. The battle ends prematurely and anticlimactically. The devil whispers the truth about Eddie's father to him in the hospital. He's all, "Oh no, what have I done?" The devil's holding that Japanese box, no idea what he's doing with that. Then Redeemer disappears, Eddie's having a seizure, and the Earth swallows Spawn whole. And scorpions with violator heads. Wait a minute. I decided to try writing like this so I didn't use up my life force on the page. Okay, I take it back. I am an idiot. I'm probably expending a lot more energy using this superpower. I wonder. It'll use up a little more power, but I'll save a lot in the long run if this works.